You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vogt.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back, yes. Claps all around if it will do what I want it to do. Yes, there it is. Episode 211. I think I had the caps lock on, but guess what? We're good now. We got it off the caps lock, so we are starting off the show just fine. I am your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., 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 and all the way in Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota. Paul Vogt, the Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, finally, it's great to have a little bit more normalcy back in my life once again. I'm actually back at work this week, so at least we're doing that right. And, of course, we're back here with the show. We've got everything going on here. Looking forward to another great one, as always.
You know it, Voldy. We've got a lot to get to. There's some sports happening tonight. For some of you that have been tuning into the social medias, unfortunately, we were not able to get Alex Zappa here tonight. Yes, I know. Yeah. We revealed it last week. We said he's going to be on. Just wasn't able to make it. He is working tonight for the Lynx. The Lynx are in Game 3, series tied at 1-1. Game tonight, game Friday, and then, if necessary, I believe Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Monday. I don't know. We'll look it up. But we'll keep you up to date on the Lynx, too. Just keep an eye on, I have it on the television, so I will check and keep you up to date on the score and things like that during the show. So, also, Pick'em. Very strong week from myself and you, Voldy. So, claps.
Yeah!
We needed that. We really did.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's
been too long. I mean, we needed a strong week. We got it. But our leader, now we have another leader, and that is Victor Austin. Yes.
Hot dog.
Victor
Let's go.
is killing it, dude. Like,
Yeah,
I
he
give him
is.
a lot of credit. He's kicking ass, and you know, the zoners have done a great job as well. So this is going really well with ESPN now. There's probably a bunch of randos in this league,
good
which
amount.
we
Good
don't
amount of
understand.
randos, yeah.
Reveal yourself next time. But
Yes.
no, it's all good. But make sure to keep in tune with what we got. And this week, Voldy, what are we giving away? What do you got?
Oh, I knew I forgot to do something.
Oh, no.
But we are. I got a wife and I got 2 kids. They're bugging
I could have
me.
done it.
Okay, they're not bugging me. There's stuff. I know I've got something. If you mind the shot here of, we're gonna keep things family friendly.
Yep, it's all right. Well, just
I think I got them up here.
I could have grabbed it too. I guess I'm putting it on
Yeah,
myself
I
as
know,
well.
That's
But
not right either. But we are giving away. I didn't have it in the bag. It's all the way on the other side of the room. But nonetheless, we are giving away MinneZona Sports Live stocking cap here this week as well. So definitely get those picks in for sure.
get those picks in. Winter cap, guys. It's getting colder out. We'll get that to you, so that you guys can have a chance to win a MinneZona winter cap. They're awesome.
That's right.
I've worn I wore it last winter. Well, what winter? But this winter, you never know. It could be. There could be snow like crazy, but hey, just,
Who knows?
we'll not get to that. We're moving on. So let's get to what we got cooking tonight for Tater Tot Hot Take, guys. We're talking about the Minnesota Vikings. There is a huge game on Sunday. It's gonna be crazy. The bank is gonna be jumping. Vikings, Lions, the fight for the North, round 1. It's coming your way Sunday at noon. Let's go. So we'll be previewing that, giving our thoughts on some of the current, what we got with the current news cycle and everything along with that. A lot of things to get to there. So we got that. We got Vikings. And then after that, we got Gophers. The Gophers did end up pulling it out against the UCLA Bruins. So claps out to them. They're on a bye this week. We're going to talk about the game, see what they got coming up, and go from there. And then tonight, we are doing Infamous List. It is not Hall of Shame, but we have updated our list. I've added some new names onto this list. Some people have moved up a little bit. Some people have moved down. We will explain that. Voldy's made some changes as well. And you guys are more than welcome to throw in your 2 cents. I mean, at any time during the show, throw in your 2 cents. We'd love to hear from you, too. So Infamous List tonight. And then ARA, it is a lot of stuff happening. Camakers is a Viking again. We'll talk about that. We got AFC East team trades. We got Cooper going to the Bills. And, oh, guys, I can't believe it. Davanteadams went to the Jets. Are you kidding me?
That's crazy.
Wow. So we'll talk about that.
Unfathomable.
Deshaun Watson, still best for Browns. That's an easy question to answer on that one. We'll get to that, too. Lonzoball going to be returning for the Bulls. They'll be taking on the Wolves here very soon. And Tom Brady approved as Raiders minority owner. We got some thoughts on that. And then obviously Voldy does. And Shield shoutouts. So Voldy, I say we get it going. Let's put let's get that Tater Tot Hot Take out of the oven. Let's get it going with some Tater Tot Hot Take.
Yes, sir.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
This tater, there it is. Hey, there we go. We got the winter cap. Remember, pick them. You have a chance to win that winter cap. We will get that to you. So get those picks in as soon as possible. There's a lot of great matchups this week too. So take your time, make your picks,
think it out.
Done. So let's talk about this heavyweight matchup. I believe Brian Flores said this in a mic'd up moment. He said, this is a heavyweight fight. We got to be, be ready for anything and everything like that.
Mhm.
This is turning out to be a heavyweight fight between the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings.
Mhm.
One advantage the Vikings do have is they play at home, and it is a noon game. So
Nice.
the Vikings have not lost a game yet, and they're going up against a foe that was before the season was probably going to win the division again, but the Vikings so far has said not so fast. We've got something here too. So Voldy coming off the bye week, and we all know the camakers deal. We'll talk more about that in ARA, but
Mhm.
the Vikings have had some key injuries here. Blake Cashman not expected to play because apparently
Yeah,
he
that's
had
tough.
some turf toe
Mhm.
issues coming back from London. It sounds like he might not be available for the Lions and the Rams game on Thursday. So
Oh boy.
there's a lot going on there. Aaron Jones, obviously not hip, but hamstring. And we all know what it is with hamstrings. Very tricky,
Mhm.
very hard to tell with that. But the Vikings could have TJ Hawkinson
That's right.
and Dalton Reisner possibly
Ooh.
in case, Ingram has to get out of there at some point. It's
Yep.
got to happen. And if Reisner's got it, throw him in there. So,
Yep.
Voldy, let's just start off with these injury concerns because we saw the injury report. There's obviously some names we knew, but now we just got the news about Blake Cashman. Doesn't sound like
Yeah.
he's going to play. So what are your thoughts here for the Vikings with this round of injuries that are coming up, even during the bye week? What do you think?
Right. Yeah, it's unfortunate too. Also, you throw in the fact that the bye week is so early on in the season for the Vikings. That's going to be a tough stretch coming up here towards the back half of the season. But you look at the injuries too. I mean, Cashman, he's been a key contributor in multiple areas, whether it has been, leading the team in tackles multiple games, providing pressure and forcing quarterbacks to make quick and ultimately wrong decisions that have led to interceptions, pressure, even getting into sacks as well. Cashman's been a pretty good piece in the middle of that defense for that linebacking core in his first year with the purple. So that one's going to be a little bit tough for that to happen. But I know that the depth that we've got is going to be admirable. It's going to be it's going to be helpful to have at least a couple more depthful pieces than we've had in years past. I'm not overly concerned about that. You'd like to have Cashman. He's kind of that security blanket on that defensive side, but I'm not too overly concerned right now about it. But looking on the other side with getting back quite possibly TJ Hawkinson, I don't know if he's going to be a full go yet, but he is within that window of being able to practice, obviously coming off the PUP list and ultimately go up against his old squad too, the team that knocked him out towards the end of last season. That could be a nice little revenge game for him and, get back to shape. It'll be interesting to see how he would fit and ultimately become another piece of the offense with the fact that, Oliver and Munt have really supplied that tight end support. But with obviously TJ Hawkinson in that mix, you have him at a tight end, but ultimately as another receiving threat is going to be key too. But there are definitely things with the injury report that are a little bit of concern. So as we get closer towards the end of the week, it's going to be more and more paramount. You would hope that Cashman would be able to come back sooner, but with turf toe, it's such a tricky and delicate thing.
Very tricky, very delicate. I mean, it's kind of like the hamstring issue with Aaron Jones. Jonesy kind of talked about how he was feeling before the London game, and he felt like he tweaked something, but he thought he could go, and then he must have aggravated it and went from there. So, there's that to factor in, but also too. Another name that was on there that I thought was interesting, and we're going to have to monitor this even for tomorrow into Friday, into the weekend. Harrison Phillips did not practice. Now, this could either be, okay, he's getting some rest. It said it's his shoulder or something like that. We definitely do need him for sure in the middle because he's played really well. And this offensive line that they got, I mean, we got to be ready to go because Montgomery, Gibbs, they'll run it down our throat if need be. that's the one thing I am concerned about. I'm worried about that, especially with Cashman out. I think that factors into this too, because without him. But thankfully, Ivan Pace is back. That helps. But Camu Grugier Hill has been really good. So I'm not fully like, oh crap, like Kamu's been great. I mean, he's made plays. He's got a couple. I think he's got 2 picks, if I'm not mistaken. He had one in the Texans.
Yep.
And then he had one against the Packers. So I think with him coming in, I'm not too concerned. The only thing I get concerned about is if we don't have our D tackle in the middle. So that's my concern with that. Offensively, I want to think that Aaron Jones will play. It's kind of trending in that direction, but then he said we'll kind of see. So we'll see how the next few days pan out. But my hope is that he does play, because they weren't the same, like we said last week when he was out of the game, because they desperately do need him. Now, then you factor in the Camakers deal. But the Vikings needed depth at that position. You saw what we saw with Ty Chandler. And it's not just kind of one game. He's good, but there are times where he's either fumbling the ball or he misses a block on when he's pass blocking. So having that depth, Akers knows the offense and knows what to expect. So that is helpful in that sense. But I also want to make it known too that Hawkinson, I think. It's sounding like he's trending in the right direction too. It's kind of like Jones. He's trending in the right direction. But I wonder if they're scared of putting him in against the same team and the same guy who injured TJ Hawkinson. Is it a smart idea to have him in that? Now, I think if he's full go and there's no issues or anything like that, I say go with him. But if there's if there's a little bit of a setback or something like that, keep them out till Thursday, even if that. So I feel like they're going to need at least one of the two, either Hawk or Aaron Jones. So I think that's the big thing. Now, wide receivers wise, I think we're in good shape. Jets, we got Addison, we've got Naylor, like we're okay in that sense. Now, my question, and especially with what type of offensive lines coming, their defense, they lose Aiden Hutchinson and Zoners. If you saw that really gruesome injury, I think everybody saw that. A lot of people think, well, they're not a Super Bowl contender right now. I'm never going to say that. It's a big piece they lost, but they can still win. They're no slouches by any means.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is you're going to give Darnold time. You're going to have Jefferson. You're going to be doing some quick outs, things like that. That gives the Vikings an edge. So what Detroit Lions player, Voldy, and I asked this of the Zoners too, that you're most concerned about, either offense or defense? What do you think?
I've got 2 guys in mind, both on the defensive side. Unfortunately, I'm really looking at here on the defensive side, Kirby Joseph and Alex Anzalone. But linebacker, defensive back, both those guys had really strong games last week, because we know that the pressure from the Lions really came from obviously Aiden Hutchinson and him being, injured and lost for the remainder of the season. That is a huge miss for them, but that just means that's going to open opportunity for other guys. And Anzalone, really good covering linebacker, good in coverage, can supply pressure coming up from that linebacking core. And then Kirby Joseph has just been playing very well here the last few weeks. Even in that one-sided victory against Dallas, he definitely made plays left and right. I think he got an interception towards the end of the game as well. Very good cover defensive back, so he's definitely going to be someone that will be looked at a lot here to really slow down the Vikings receiving core in multiple areas for sure.
I feel like we should, I don't know if he ever was disciplined, Kirby Joseph, I'm saying, for that hit on Hawk.
Yep.
I think he was with Higbee, but he should have been flagged for that. And I get concerned with that because who knows what he'll do again. Now, with that being said, he should have been suspended. He should have been, but the Higbee one was just, I mean, that was way too far. But you still have to be concerned either way because he's made, like you said, he's made those interceptions, things like that, and he'll make plays. The guys that I get concerned about, yes, you have Amon-Ra and everything like that, but Jameson Williams, that's the one guy I'm kind of looking at because he can get behind the defense, and he did a couple times before against the Vikings. Now, I feel like with what we have with Flo and what he's been able to conjure up and the confidence that he exuded in his press conference yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, about he's going to fight fire with fire. They have a great offense. Well, guess what? Flo's got a great defense. Now, the one thing that Flo doesn't want to have happen is have those guys get by Bynum and Harry and, Gilmore and all Murphy for one, too. So that's something we have to keep in mind. But the one thing I think we have an advantage of is that if they do try to go deep, Bynum and Harry are going to have it locked down back there. I dare Jared Goff to throw it deep against Cam Bynum and Dirty Harry. I mean, Cam Bynum's been getting picks like crazy. He's been causing turnovers. He's been punching out the ball. He's been recovering fumbles. He's been, getting interceptions. This is a good thing for the Vikings defense as long as you don't let him get by. He's very quick, but I just don't see him being that Amon-Ra, like getting the short passes and maybe getting a deep route here or there. We just have to play smart football. Smart. We got to do what we've been doing defensively this whole year, and I think we're going to be okay. The other guy that I'm kind of concerned about too, and this is on the offensive side as well. Montgomery and Gibbs. I kind of put them together just because I feel like these are two guys that we have to consider when running the ball. I feel like when Montgomery's played the Vikings, we've struggled to get him down on the ground because, again, if you're going to tackle him high, he's going to throw you out. I mean, he's gonna stiff arm you and everything. You got to hit him at the waist and the legs. You got to wrap up. You got to take him down. Now, Gibbs is a different beast. The guy is quick. He's shifty, and the Vikings have to, make sure you keep him contained because if he breaks out for a long run, if they get over 100 yards on the ground, we're in for a long day. So I'm sure Coach Flo's got a plan for how to stop the run against these guys, and I think they'll do a good job of that. But I'm concerned about what's in the middle. But we got to watch, outside the tackles and the halfback tosses, so to speak. So pace has got to get in there, and we got to rely on our ends. So with that being said, looking at the Lions and everything like that, Voldy. Massive game. Yes. The implications of this are huge. Just huge.
Huge.
This is who's going to, are the Vikings going to run the North here? Are the Lions going to run the North like people were saying before? That's the big question. It's going to be a close game. I can almost guarantee that. But what Vikings player, Voldy, end zoners, do you think will have a great game on Sunday? Who do you got?
I mean, this is a game where you're going to have make a statement one way or another, and I think a game that can be a statement maker and a player that's going to be making a statement against the Lions, it's going to be Justin Jefferson. I feel the last couple of weeks we have really started to get him. I mean, the game 2 weeks ago, this past Sunday was a little bit of a misnomer, but, even getting him in key situations where he can go and make a play. This is a game where he needs to make I don't want to say he needs to make all the plays, but whenever the ball is thrown his direction, he needs to come down with it. And that is something that Detroit's going to be focusing in on with double teams, trying to take him away from, stretching the field. But yet somehow he still finds his way open in some key situations late in the game against the Jets, couple of key catches to move the field, ultimately get that late field goal for padding purposes of the lead. I think that is going to be something that will show itself early against Detroit, and I think it's going to be Justin Jefferson that's going to have a huge game on Sunday.
Well, Voldy, you did take mine, but I'm going to add on to it. But that is exactly who I'm picking as well. Mm-hmm. Listen, Justin Jefferson, no matter the quarterback, whether it was Kirk, whether it was Nick Mullins, whether it was no, I don't think Jaron played against the Lions, but either one of those quarterbacks, he has owned the Lions. He has absolutely, positively owned the Lions. Now, the comeback that Lions fans might have to that is, well, let's think about it this way here. We have Terry and Arnold back there, Brian Branch is back there, Kirby Joseph and everything like that. Doesn't matter. JJ is going to get his yards, get his touchdowns as well. There's a reason. There's a reason why I put that jersey back there tonight. Is because those DBs for the Detroit Lions, they're going to be seeing the back of that jersey a lot. Because Justin Jefferson, Kevin O'Connell, the offense are going to find a way to do the exact same thing that he's done the whole time he has played the Detroit Lions. He is going to light them up, and I can't wait to see Jefferson do that. Now, if you try and quadruple cover him and everything, guess what? We got Addison. We might have Hawkinson, but that could free up stuff for Naylor, for Powell, for even Johnny Munt. We love Johnny Munt here. When you have him quadruple cover, well, we got to cover Addison now. Well, if you're leaving JJ out here, O'Connell's going to find ways to get Jefferson the ball. I feel like it is going to be Justin Jefferson. He will dictate this game. I think he is going to absolutely cook those Detroit D-backs. And I know that there's been some Lions fans that don't like the way that we've been talking about their team and everything like that, but we have given them their props. Don't get on us for that. So, Voldy, since the Vikings play on Sunday, I need a score prediction. And I'll ask this to the zoners as well. Please throw it in the chat. We'd love to hear what your thoughts score. Vikings win, they don't win. What do you got? So Voldy,
I do have the Vikings winning. It is going to be a tough one. It's going to come down to the very end. And I say it's going to be 28-27 Vikings.
Huzzah. I like that, but here's what I'm going to go.
Okay.
I'm going 27-20 Minnesota Vikings.
I like it.
I'm giving Detroit their props.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the Vikings defensively will start to, get some turnovers on Goff. I mean, Goff's hasn't been pressured that much. I mean, for goodness sake, he was 18 of 18 against the Seahawks a couple weeks ago. And they played Dallas, and good Lord, I mean, when you have Zimmer back there, or when you have Zimmer, running that defense, I mean, good Lord, that was not great. I know Kirk probably liked that, seeing that. But, I got the Vikings 27-20. I mean, it's going to be close, guys. I mean, we just got to accept that fact because the Lions are for real. I believe our Vikings are for real. I can't wait till noon on Sunday. I'm glad it's at noon.
As long as they don't turn over the football. They keep the ball in their hands, don't turn it over. They've got a pretty good chance.
Damn right, Voldy. Mm-hmm. So, Skull Vikes, the Jefferson jersey is going to be sitting up there until Sunday at noon when I will put it on for good luck. So, we'll keep you up to date on that. Here, let's give. Oh my goodness, guys, we have a score update. Are you ready to hear this, Voldy?
What do you got?
The Minnesota Lynx
are
up 26-11. 26 to 11. I believe it is the. Wait, hold on. Hold the phone. Let's see. Come on. Oh, here we go. And yes, it is still the first quarter, but a very good lead for our Minnesota Lynx. So that's very good.
Good start, ladies.
Good start.
Very
we'll
nice.
see how it goes the rest of the show here. So go Lynx, the whole deal. Zaps, we will get you on once. Hopefully they're holding up the WNBA trophy. So, All right, let's go to our Golden Gophers. So after the big win against USC, they go to the Rose Bowl. They haven't been there since 1962 or something like that. They said on the broadcast. Yeah. The last-minute touchdown sealed the win. I watched the end of that game, Voldy, and I will say, Brosmer, well done, sir. I'm giving you some claps, my friend. You didn't have the best game. I mean, all in all, the Gophers didn't play well most of the game. Now, I kind of expected that as the downside to it, but shout out to the Gopher fans for showing up and showing out. Yeah. That was amazing. It was like a home game. And UCLA. And you know what's crazy, Voldy, when I was watching? Eric Bieniemy is the OC at UCLA. It's like, of all places, why? I don't get that. Anyway.
Took the job after Chip Kelly left. Chip Kelly went to Ohio State.
Yeah. Oh, that's because because some other guy was the head coach. I didn't know who that was. So,
Sean Foster.
Well, okay, gotcha. So, Brosmer, on the final drive, 4 of 6 passes, 43 yards, including the touchdown to Darius Taylor, who has been fantastic. For the Gophers. Daniel Jackson was awesome. 10 receptions, 89 yards. And our guy, Coy Parrish, 2 picks. 2 picks. This 18-year-old kid is killing it. So claps out to all those guys having a great game, especially towards the end of the game, too. I got concerned when they threw that 46-yard touchdown for UCLA and everything like that, but for some reason, I was just like, I feel like they got this. I like Brosmer. I like Darius Taylor, and they got it done. So, Voldy, any thoughts on the Gophers taking down UCLA, and now they're going into a bye week, and then they got Maryland after that? What do you got?
Yeah, absolutely the right time for the Gophers to be on a heater, then going into the bye week. Couple of nice wins against the new boys on the block, that being for USC and UCLA in the Big Ten Conference. I think even getting a good road win against the Bruins. Yes, they are 1-5, 0-4 in the conference, but still, you go to the Rose Bowl, you get a win on the road, especially with the way things have been going as of late. Gophers will definitely take it. They're back above 500. I think right now PJ is starting to feel himself a little bit more. He's getting into his bag a little bit and taking a lot more risks. Of course, we look back at the USC game, going for it 4th and goal, with it being a tied game, and ultimately scoring that game-winning touchdown. That was a huge call. Ultimately worked out the Gophers' favor in that. Then you look at how this game ended up with the Gophers being down 10-0 at halftime, then ultimately come back and win 21-17, outscoring UCLA 21-7 in that second half. And a couple of key plays in that game-winning drive too. I mean, I've said it the last few times, Brosmer, coming into this year, you knew that he was going to be a guy that wanted to light up, he wanted to light up scoreboard. I mean, he led the league, he led FCS in passing last year with yards and everything too, but he's had to change his game a little bit. He's become a lot more efficient, not getting the huge yards. I mean, he only had 193 yards total passing, but 26 for 37. We've seen a lot tighter, completion percentages from him. Ultimately stretching out the ball, relying on that running game. That running game gets a couple hundred yards a game, definitely doing things right. And the defense has followed through as suit. 2 interceptions from the freshman and Koi Parachit again, getting pressure. Overall, this team is really starting to come to form with just an overall, just complete team effort. Offensively, defensively, special teams still could probably tighten up in a couple areas, but they're doing enough at the right time to win. And, going into the bye week, I'm sure it was a real nice boost of confidence with getting that win on the road.
You're seeing the passing game was so much better from what it was before. And Calic Manis, he was very streaky. Yeah, we don't need to talk about that. But before that, Tanner Morgan just kind of fell, off. With Brosmer, he's got confidence. He's getting the ball out quick and fast, and our guys are catching. I mean, thank God for Daniel Jackson. The guy has been fantastic. That catch he had against Michigan was insane. You can count on a guy like that to, be a playmaker, and he's done that, especially with this game that he had on Saturday. Especially 10 receptions, 89 yards. I know I said it before, but I mean that's what you need. You need to rely on that. Elijah Spencer has been catching a couple nice footballs too, and with Minnesota tight ends, I feel like they've kind of involved them a little bit more too. I mean, that's what you have to do. You have to get everybody involved in order for the offense to go. You can't just be run until somebody gets hurt. I mean, you just can't do it. And again, they won the game off a, I think Darius Taylor was, he was blocking, and then he goes out for the pass. He's wide open. Boom. Brosmer finds him. Touchdown. We're good to go. So, coming up here against Maryland, I feel like the Gophers historically have had trouble against Maryland. I feel like this time they'll be a little bit, I think they'll be prepared and everything like that. But it's a good time to have this bye. These guys rest up, get ready for Maryland, and then kind of see how it goes from there. But this is what they needed to do to respond after that Iowa game. I mean, that's exactly what they needed to do. So I'm proud of the fact that they did that, and we will kind of see how it ends up throughout next week. We'll probably be talking about it next week. So, all right, that will do it for Tater Tot Hot Take tonight. Vikes, Gophs. I believe it is the end of the first quarter. I believe they're in the second. Last time I looked, it was 28-17, so not too bad for the ladies, obviously. Go Lynx, so we will keep you up to date as we go along. So, Shield, we've got the top 10 infamous list coming up next. Right. We've made some changes. Not Hall of Shame, since we did induct the damn pohlads from, was it 2 weeks ago now? Yeah, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Surprisingly. Wow, God, time flies. So top 10 infamous list, we've made some changes, and feel free to chime in too on your thoughts about our list, and or you can make your own list too. So that being said, Voldy, I say we get it going with some top 10 infamous list.
Here's the list no one wants to be on. Infamous Top 10.
I feel like it should be my duty to take off A-Rod off there just because, he's actually been doing all right. Like, he's kind of sort of redeemed himself in every way, but
kind of sort of.
We'll get there at some point. Anywho, Voldy, we got the top 10 infamous list. We will reveal it here in a second, but why don't you do the honors with your list first, and then we'll go over to mine and we'll talk about it, explain some things, and go from there. So here is our top 10 infamous list. Boom!
There
what
it
do you
is.
got, Shield?
Yeah, we start off at the number 10 spot. Of course, it was usually reserved for YouTube TV and my disdain for them not being able to watch local sports, whether it be the Minnesota Wild, the Minnesota Twins, and those professional teams, Timberwolves, if I got really desperate. But now it has really extended out to sports streaming services. This does also include Bally Sports North. Now basically being defunct at this point, with Major League Baseball now getting into the mix, and now Twins games will be broadcasted on MLB.TV with coverage, of course, from Minnesota and extending into parts of the Midwest, the upper Midwest, if you will. So that way Twins territory is well covered. But the fact that we have taken this long to get to this point, instead of a agreement, a contractual situation to say, you know what, let's get back on, the traditional, YouTube TV, the Hulu, all of those as well, Apple TV, everything in between. Let's just make it easy on ourselves. Nope, we continue to play this song and dance and continue on by just being a complete sham of what we once were, when we were just a simple people, when you could have regular cable and you could watch the Twins, the Wild, the Timberwolves free and clear without any problem whatsoever. Now we're up to the number 9 spot, and some choice words for Deshaun Watson, or as some people have labeled him, Osama bin Watson, taking hostage of the Cleveland Browns. Of course, we'll talk more about the current situation with the Browns and Deshaun Watson, but yet just looking like more of a shell of himself from his time in Houston when he was, and I have always said, if you give him a better offense and better protection, he's an MVP candidate. And sadly, we're not even looking at that anymore. He's almost as good of a person as he is a football player, and he's not looking too good as a football player right now. That is the point we have now reached in the career of Deshaun Watson. Now moving up to the number 8 spot, my hatred for the NBA does continue, especially when you continue to protect a player such as Draymond Green, a master manipulator in multiple ways with his kind words and his great smile, but yet underneath the surface, that man is a few balls of yarn short of a full basket of crazy, because he is out there. He's picking fights out on the floor. He's picking fights in the locker room. He's picking fights out at practice with his own teammates, and he continues to violate the rules of basketball and also just good sportsmanship, and yet he continues to be protected by the National Basketball Association. The NBA is rigged. It will continue to be rigged as long as Draymond and these repeat offenders in basketball continue with this protection, even guys like Jamorant in the mix. Now up to the number 7 spot. Now, this was originally Tampa Bay Professional Sports, but let's really get down to brass tacks and talk about the Tampa Bay Rays and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I hate you more than I hate losing in that regard. I hate Tampa Bay Rays and their god-awful stadium. I'm happy it got blown up by Hurricane Milton, or whichever one came through and tore the roof off that place. I'm surprised that it didn't blow the whole gall darn thing down. Yes, there are people that their lives do depend on working at Tropicana Field in that domed structure, but maybe this will finally push them even further to get that new stadium built, so that way we don't have to look at that god-awful eyesore that is Tropicana Field anymore. Now talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning, I just hate them based off the fact that they continue to find ways to make themselves relevant in Florida, even with the Florida Panthers. More on that coming up here in the near future. And the fact that they are still a team that continues to find its way in conversation of being one of the top teams in NHL. I'm glad that a lot of their top players left, and now maybe they can be a bottom feeder for a few years. That way they can humble themselves even after winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. Now going up to the number 6 spot on the list here, the national sports media, never giving credit for anything positive that that Minnesota Pro Sports does, including with the Minnesota Vikings now being 5-0 and on the season. They are not giving them the due credit that they deserve. They're saying, of course, no, they're not good. The other teams are just awful. Of course, one of 2 unbeaten teams still in the NFL, and everybody's talking about the Chiefs. Of course, the Chiefs are good. But what's going on with all these teams that played the Vikings? They're not very good. Why do they keep losing this irrelevant team? Never giving the due credit that Minnesota Pro Sports does deserve. The only team that seems to get any sort of positive feedback is a team that's going to be looking to win a title here before the end of the week, hopefully, and the Minnesota Lynx. And I really hope that things hold out and we can celebrate another championship for Minnesota when it comes to women's professional sports, because we know that the PWHL had their inaugural season and the Minnesota team won. So Minnesota women's pro sports holding up their end of the bargain when it comes to championships. Up to the number 5 spot, I believe we're up to now. Yes, the Florida Panthers. Oh, man, do I hate the ever-living sight of you. I really wish your stadium could have gotten blown down by the hurricanes that rolled through in South Florida, and I really hope that you guys have a horrible season. Matthew Tkachuk, I hate you more than I hate life itself. Sam Bennett, I hope that you fall over and stub your toe on every corner of every coffee table, every corner of your bed, onto the way that you will not repeat as Stanley Cup champions. I hate the Florida Panthers, that I hate me. Let's be honest. I hate me more than me, but still, at that same time, Florida sucks. I hate it. Up to the number 4 spot we go, and my agitation just continues to grow further and further. MLB's advanced statistics. Yes, we had a whole thing about this when it came to Voldy's futures probably about a month or so ago at least.
Yeah.
Why do we need to continue to come up with numbers to make irrelevant players more and more relevant? Either you're good or you're not. Either you're in Major League Baseball or you're in the minor leagues of in the minor leagues of baseball. Stop coming up with numbers to quantify guys as being good or not. Can he hit the ball? Yes or no? Can he throw the ball? Yes or no? Can he catch the ball? Yes or no? That's all I need to know beyond that. Up to the number 3 spot on the list, and a perennial power that still continues to hold our imagination. It is, yes, indeed, Urban Meyer. So I don't know, Matt, if you've been watching the American Sports Story with Aaron Hernandez or not. I've watched it, and if you couldn't get a more sketchier guy than Urban Meyer, I don't know what else is. And I continue to be reminded as well with Brandon McManus. I believe he was the punter, if not kicker, in Jacksonville when Urban Meyer was there. Yes. And they had that whole kerfuffle with Meyer kicking him in the leg or something. Like, I just want to go out and say, if Urban Meyer doesn't kick McManus in the leg, McManus probably doesn't go home and beat his wife. I'm just saying that.
Whoa.
And now he's been basically blacklisted. I think he got picked up by the Packers this week for McManus or something like that. I'm just saying, Urban Meyer doesn't do that. We probably don't have a blacklisted kicker in Brandon McManus. I'm just throwing that out there. With Urban Meyer, the whole sketchy stuff he did down in Florida, Ohio State, his time with Jacksonville, and now still being kind of a shining face on the Fox pregame show for a big noon kickoff, it continues to bug me each and further more. Now we move up to the, quote, Big Ten Conference, the Big 18 now, if you will, spanning from coast to coast with classic matchups in the Big Ten of Rutgers versus Maryland, UCLA versus Nebraska, and all those great Big Ten matchups we remember fondly watching. And the fact that we got at the middle of the season, USC versus Minnesota. No, not in a bowl game. No, not in a bowl game. This was middle of October against USC. And the fact that we get that more and more here with these new conference alignments, it's a complete sham within itself. I'm glad we get to see other sports, like when it comes down to it, like softball in the spring, that you get to see like the Gophers play against UCLA, which will be great because those are two powerhouse programs, and this will be a conference matchup. You get volleyball, Wisconsin against USC, another great perennial power. Nebraska is a great volleyball program that they have down there in Lincoln. That's great. But the fact that it was continued and negotiated with football in its mind is completely dumb within itself, because all these other teams and all these other programs for the conference realignment are screwed one way or another, and I completely hate that. Now we're up to the number 1 spot, and holds near and dear to our hearts, Glenn Taylor. Yes, Glenn Taylor is still at number 1. When are you going to phone it in, old man? When are you just going to sell the team, cut your losses, Get the hell out of town. What else you got to prove? You're going to do it after the Lynx win another title, so that way you can go out on top. He was really hoping the Timberwolves were going to win, so that way he can really still hoist the Larry O'Brien trophy. But sadly enough, he is going to be most likely hoisting another WNBA championship from the Lynx here before it's all said and done. And that is just completely erroneous and just stupid, because Glentaylor should have sold the team to Mark Lowry and A-Rod and just got out of town. Just a clean loss. Let's get over it and just be done. Take the money and run. What else do you need to prove? That's my top 10 this week.
A lot of movement and everything like that. You mentioned the Florida Panthers. I thought you hated. Do you hate Phil more, or do you hate the guys that you? I mean, that's a great question. I feel like.
Oh, I hate those other guys more. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Sure.
Wow.
That's how deep we are into the
That's
bag
pretty
now.
deep.
Yeah, that's pretty deep. Yeah.
Oh, poor Phil. He's a guy that needs to be in the Hall of Shame, I feel like, at some point.
Yeah,
soon.
we'll see.
We'll give it time. All right, we'll give it time.
Yeah.
We'll give it time.
He's got a chance to redeem himself.
Yeah. Or unredeem. I don't know. However you want to put it.
Just retire already, Phil.
Yeah. Retire, Phil. Let me give you a quick update. Lynx 38, New York 28. Let's
nice.
see. 4 minutes left in the second quarter. So
I like it.
Lots happening. All right. Here's mine. Shield, there's a lot to say with this. I'll try to keep it as short as possible just because I know we got other stuff to get to. So here's my list, and you guys have already seen it, obviously. Number 10, Scam Duel. Scam Duel has gone down to number 10. But the reason why is because I really haven't seen anything super controversial from their tweets and things like that in regards to our Minnesota Vikings or any other team for that matter. But that could change. If Sunday the Vikings lose, I'm sure they probably will have something. They'll probably rip Darnold, Jefferson, whatever, the Vikings in general. So be on the lookout. They are still at 10. The one name that dropped from this list, I will say, Luka Doncic. Since the season will be starting up again, they beat the Wolves. The Wolves kind of did beat themselves too, but Luka's still a crybaby. Let's be honest. And a lot of people were surprised, saying I was being salty about it. But if you're gonna cry about every freaking call, if you're gonna be Carl, if you're gonna be like Cat, no offense to Cat, but Cat did do that a lot too. But the amount of what Doncic did, he deserves to be on the list. So, but now he is off it, so he's off the hook. All right, number 9, Jamorant. Really haven't heard much about Ja. I'm really not going to go too much into it because it's like, well, he did what he did, but he could probably do it again. And Ant said he could take him one-on-one, and I think Ant probably could, and he probably would. So I believe a lot of what Ant says, and some people don't like it. Magic Johnson. But, that's just how he is. But, Ja is still at 9. We'll see how it goes. Now, number 8 is a little bit different from previous times. Urbanmeyer at 8. Now, Voldy, I have not, in fact, seen the Aaron Hernandez thing, but I think I will here soon. And I'm sure they probably put him in a light where it's like, oh, it's not true, blah, blah, blah. Oh, trust me, a lot of things are true when it comes to Urban Meyer and his extracurricular activities per se. So he's dropped down just because I really haven't seen much. That's probably factored into my decision. He's still on Big Noon Kickoff, which I think is a complete joke and a sham. I think he should be kicked out of college football for real. I mean, there's a lot of things, especially what happened at Ohio State with the domestic abuse that happened and the texting between, and then obviously the travesty that was in Jacksonville with him was just absolutely abysmal. But still, I mean, he's still on the list. He can move up with some more stupid stuff, but he's trending that way. Number 7, Glenn Taylor. Glenn Taylor falls down to 7. Now, he's still on the list. We still want him to sell the team to A-Rod and Lowry and that whole deal. Don't even know where the hell that's at this point, but he wants to hold on to the team. He can sell it for more later on and everything like that. I kind of understand the business side of it and everything, but the old man is just, he thinks that I put this crew together and everything like that. Okay, who hired Tim Conley again? That was A-Rod and Lori, and then you signed off on it because you trusted their word. So, you didn't really put this together. It was Tim Conley and his crew. And yeah, we drafted Ant and we added around Ant and everything like that. But listen, you're not like that, Glenn Taylor. Sorry. But he can move up the list. Again, we're just starting off the season here. So we'll see where that goes. Number 6, Sean Payton. Really haven't heard much. He's still a bum. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, as we all know. Not really much to add with him. He's coaching the Broncos, and he plays his old team tomorrow even, and I hope both of them just lose. But at the same time, if he's on the Broncos, I might even pick the Aints to win. Who knows? So, yeah, he's a piece of crap. Number 5, Aaron Rodgers. Man, crying can only get you so far in life, but if it's Aaron Rodgers, it's okay. You can cry however you want. You're going to get what you want. You say that, I wasn't involved in the firing of Saleh. Yeah, sure. I totally believe that. Oh, I wasn't involved in the trading of Davante. No, you were very involved with that. What you did on McAfee spoke volumes, absolute volumes. So, the Jets look awful, even with adding Davanteadams, which he's a great talent. Don't get me wrong. Will they improve? Yes. They are not a Super Bowl contender in my eyes. And the reason why I say that is because their O-line isn't great. Their run game has been non-existent. So if you want Rodgers to keep throwing and, tear out his arm and get sacked, he's dinged up too. So you got that to factor in. It's very similar to the 2010 Vikings, if you think about it. Vikings needed a jolt. They go and trade for one Randy Moss. Him and Favre try to get on the same page. We know how that ended. This is looking like that situation right now. I'm not going to lie, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, Rodgers is being a complete ass of himself, and we see right through him. I mean, honestly, if I'm being honest. He hasn't played that great. He's been playing better these past few weeks, but I don't believe anything he says. So he's at 5. Number 4, Draymond Green. Really not much to add with that. He really hasn't done much since the end of the season, which I'm glad we haven't heard anything about that, even though I feel like we're just, people have to bow at his feet and everything like that with how he's getting these media gigs and with TNT, and he's able to, do that and still play in the league. It's stupid. It's honestly stupid. And the Wolves didn't want to, have him there being interviewed because they don't like him. It's quite simple. So, and Voldy, you've already explained it with Draymond. So, let's move on to number 3, Nick Sirianni. So this is interesting, Voldy. Very interesting. Nick Sirianni, I've been kind of kept him off the list just because, he's very boisterous. He's very obnoxious and everything. But he took it one step too far. On Sunday. He goes and he starts yelling at Eagles fans and saying, people are saying fire Nick and everything like that. You're in Philadelphia. They're going to say stuff because that's who they are. They threw snowballs at Santa Claus. They threw full beer cans at Vikings fans, which they shouldn't have done, which is a crappy thing to do. But why are you going out there and, talking crap like, oh, you want to fire me? You almost lost to the Browns. You almost lost to Deshaun Watson, who has been awful. And you almost lost. You had A.J. Brown back. You had Devontae Smith back. And you still almost lost to the freaking Browns, who have been a travesty. No offense to Kevin Stefanski. He's stuck with Deshaun, unfortunately. But Nick Sirianni has jumped up this list. And after the game, what does he do? He brings his kids in. He's like, oh, yeah, oh, that's just me, blah, blah. And then he apologizes. But it's like, yeah, I'm sure you're just really, sad about it and everything. Like, no, you're not. Dude, you're a fraud. I'm sorry. Nick Sirianni is a fraud. And it showed. It showed on Sunday. And I think Damian Wood, he said it best. Clown behavior, he's a clown. There you go. He's a clown. So there you go, Nick Sirianni. All right. Let's move up to number 2. Right. Deshaun Watson. Voldy, I have him up here for a reason. I want to explain more in ARA, so I will not go more in on that, especially because I will kind of explain through that. So, Deshaun Watson, number 2. Number 1, for the final time, those damn pohlads. You know the deal.
Yes,
we talked about it at length. If you want to check it out, we do have the full segment on YouTube. Make sure you check it out. We pretty much rip them the whole time. The whole kit and caboodle. So one last time, I do have the pohlads. There will be a new number 1 as well. So there you go. There's our top 10 infamous list. The pohlads. Taylor's up at 1 again. So I will explain more with Deshaun Watson and ARA. So I say, let's get ready for ARA then. So those are infamous top 10. Let us know what you guys think, or if you want to make your own, send them to us. We'd be happy to check them out as well. If you'd like to do some shuffling and stuff, let us know. So, all right, let's get it going, Volde, with some observed or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, so the Lynx are up 43-35. Halftime it is. Let's hold on to that lead. Let's get this dub. Let's hopefully win it on Friday. So go Lynx. Go Lynx. Voldy, let's get it going. Let's absurd or approve. So why don't you rattle them off for us?
Well, we start in the world of the NFL with a few teams making some moves, including our Minnesota Vikings to start off the trade season. The Minnesota Vikings have acquired running back Cam Akers for the second time in a 12-month span, getting him from the Houston Texans. In exchange, also with some draft picks, the Vikings did send a conditional 6th-round pick for 2026, while the Vikings also got a 7th-round conditional draft pick for 2026 as part of the deal. Of course, Cam Akers, no stranger to the Vikings. He was on the team last year, sadly did get hurt, and ultimately had to get cut, but did find his way back onto an NFL team after dealing with the knee trouble and, making his way to Houston. Now adds a little bit of depth for the Vikings, considering Aaron Jones is on the mend with the right hip. We're looking at Ty Chandler and quite possibly Myles Gaskin being the featured backs if Jones isn't able to go coming up on Sunday. But having with Cam Akers back into the mix is a nice piece to have, especially someone who is familiar with the offense and Kevin O'Connell. Now with Akers back on the squad for the Vikings, is it absurd or approved? Will Akers have an impact on the offense this season?
Yes, just to put it right in plain and just to tell the zoners, I believe so. Stamp of approval. The reason why I say that is because they need depth there, because I feel like the Vikings kind of knew it's like, hey, like if the hamstring's bugging him and everything, like he's going to be out for a prolonged period of time, which we don't want, obviously, then we got to have some insurance. And I think this is a good way for the Vikings to get that. Cam knows the system. When he tore his Achilles last season for the Vikings, he was at TCO. He was working at TCO to get that thing healthier and everything. And the Vikings did have a deal ready for Cam Akers to come back. It fell through. He goes to Houston. It's unfortunate, but the Vikings still found a way to get him back. Now, Joe Mixon was hurt. Cam was the lead back at that point, and Cam didn't do too bad. I mean, he did what he could, obviously, with all those running backs. Dameon Pierce was out as well. So, he did fairly well. Now, is Cam going to be the feature back? No, it's going to be Jones. Now, adding Cam to the mix and I said this before, he knows the offense, everything like that. I think before he had the injury, he was very effective. Not only running the ball, obviously catching the ball too, but dude was out laying guys out. I mean, he went and laid some Falcon out from when they played the Falcons, the Josh Dobbs game, where he just ducked somebody. I mean, Cam Akers is a hell of a player. I'm glad we have him back, and I think he's going to be effective. And he's got my stamp of approval. I think he's going to have an impact on the offense. Now, how big of an impact yet remains to be seen. But I think adding him to the mix and with keeping with Jones, and I mean, you can throw in Ty, here and there too. I mean, Ty's an effective runner too. I don't want to sit and bash him too much, but he's got to watch the turnovers. He's got to, he's got to block when he needs to, but he's a smaller back. So my hope is that those guys kind of have, obviously Aaron Jones is the lead guy, but I want us to factor in Cam Akers as well because he is an effective running back here in the NFL. So, stamp of approval. Voldy, what do you got?
Yeah, I think with the offense that you have with Kevin O'Connell and obviously with Wes Phillips too, you need to have that experience. You need to have a good serviceable back. Not saying Ty Chandler and Myles Gaskins are, obviously thrown into the wolves when it comes to this offense, but you need to have a guy that has that experience. Obviously, Aaron Jones, new to the roster, new to the system this season, but having that insurance policy with Cam Akers, I mean, like he even mentioned too, when he was in Houston, Joe Mixon was out. He's a very serviceable back. He can definitely get you some yards and get you the points that you need when it comes to, him being in a situation where he needs to step up. And I like the move. I would have preferred him being the guy to sign a deal without it costing, some conditional draft picks, but I'll take it. You could use the depth. I know that Ty Chandler has looked a little shaky at a couple of points here this season. Myles Gaskin hasn't gotten a whole lot of reps here and there, but having a guy in there that can be a good serviceable backup running back is what you need. And with Cam Akers, I feel more than comfortable. It's got my stamp of approval.
So it'll be interesting. I don't know how much he'll play if Jones is out or, things like that. Right. So I guess we'll see, but looking forward to see him back out there in purple. All right. Next one, Voldy.
Well, sticking with the NFL and some teams making some moves. Most recently, of course, we finally get the decision of where Davanteadams is ending up, and he's joining up his old teammate with Aaron Rodgers in the New York Jets. Of course, this was a move from the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders are receiving a conditional 2025 third-round draft pick as part of the trade for Adams. Of course, the last couple of weeks, is Adams healthy? Is he not? Is everybody ready to move on? I think that now that this move has been made, that will clear up a few things. But another AFC East team that just got done beating the Jets on Monday night definitely made a move in the right direction. The Buffalo Bills acquired Amaricooper from the Cleveland Browns, adding a true number one wide receiver for a sixth-round draft pick. The sixth-round draft pick is coming to the Bills for a third-round draft pick and a seventh-round selection in 2025 for the third-round pick, and also a 2026 seventh-round selection for the Browns in return. Of course, these moves being made to shore up offenses in multiple areas and now making it a much more interesting race even after that Monday night win for the Bills over the Jets. Now, with both these teams making moves, which team do you think will benefit the most from the trades that they made? Is it going to be the Jets or is it going to be the Bills?
That's a great question. I tell you, that Davante Tate, I didn't see it coming. I had no idea it was going to happen. Gosh, I can't believe Davante went to the Jets. That's crazy, absolutely crazy. What up, Tate? To answer your question though, Voldy, obviously with this right away, I say the Buffalo Bills with Amari Cooper. Now the question is can or the question is for the Bills, can they keep this up? Can they keep their offense was very good against the Jets, a very good Jets defense, by the way, too.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to do that without Amari Cooper. But now that he has Amari Cooper, who I think is very underrated as a wide receiver, he was great with the Cowboys. He was great with the Raiders, even with when Derek Carr was there. And now he gets out of NFL hell with the Cleveland Browns. I don't feel bad. With the Bills, it kind of makes sense to adding another weapon to their arsenal. And I wouldn't say they desperately needed it, but I think they needed that primary wide receiver to give themselves a chance here because they got destroyed by the Ravens. I mean, Derrick Henry ran all over them. Their defense isn't the same as it was back when they were making those runs. And I don't think Leslie's with the team anymore, or Leslie Frazier. I don't think he's with them anymore.
No, he stepped away from football this year.
That's right. So so now they have a new defensive scheme. Now they're starting to kind of, do a little bit better. Espinenza is a great pass rusher. Ed Oliver's very good as well. So I think in this instance, you got to say that it's Amari Cooper. Now, Davante is a very good, and the relationship that he has with Aaron Rodgers and the way that they've, interacted throughout the years, it's very impressive. But I said this earlier, I don't know how they're going to do it with the offensive line that they have. Their offensive line has been horrendous, and they have let up the 11th most sacks in the NFL with 16 or something like that through these 6 games or 6 weeks. And they have running backs that are good. That Braylon Allen's good. Breece Hall's good. Run the freaking ball. I mean, it's that simple. And they don't do it for whatever reason. So Coach Aaron Rodgers, and I say this, head coach Aaron Rodgers has got to figure it out with his offensive line, or else he's going to be getting hit. If they can't figure out the run game and if they can't pass block, they're in deep trouble. They are in deep trouble. So right now I say it's Amari Cooper to the Bills. I trust the Bills offensive line more than I do the Jets. So Voldy, and Tate, what do you got?
At the start of the season for the Buffalo Bills, when they got and traded Stephon Diggs, they were talking about who's going to be that number 1 receiver. Gabe Davis left also. That was a big contributor offensively. Who's going to be that guy to be the number 1 receiver? I mean, they picked up Mac Hollins. They picked up and signed Curtis Samuel. They drafted Keon Coleman there, but none of them have really kind of fit the overall mold to be a true number 1 wide receiver. Of course, they've gotten in the mix with Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid as well. Those guys being the featured receivers. Running games picked up. I mean, James Cook, when healthy, he's been more than capable of doing things offensively. But now you throw in a number 1 wide receiver in Amari Cooper to at least get him, maybe a little bit boost of confidence and get him going. That is going to play huge in the back half of the season for the Bills. I think you get him in the system and you at least get him a few throws here and there. I think it'll definitely steal away a couple of possessions and maybe even a few scoring opportunities for the Bills to at least be quite productive here as the season moves along. Now, on the other side for the Jets, and a lot of people have been saying it too the last couple of weeks with Aaron Rodgers trying to make these, impossible throws that have led to interceptions. He's been making these Davanteadams throws to guys that aren't named Davanteadams. Allen Lazard has looked very productive the last couple of weeks. Of course, the familiarity between those two with Rodgers and Lazard from their time in Green Bay and now in New York have really started to cement themselves a little bit more. Now with Garrett Wilson kind of being on the mend a little bit with a little bit of an injury, that's going to open up a few more eyes and maybe a few more opportunities for Davanteadams. Or it could very well be that you see a guy like Tyler Conklin lose his reps on the field, at least in the receiving game, a little bit more. Maybe a few less throws towards Lazard and maybe a few other guys to get Davante the numbers, because we all know that Adams and Rodgers are very comfortable with each other, and now just getting back to those timing plays that have really hurt the Jets this season. will maybe, sharpen things up a little bit more. But when he comes down between these two, I think the Bills are going to benefit more with Amaricooper's services over Adams and the Jets, because I just think you give a number one receiver to Josh Allen and he could definitely go to work in that area. I mean, it's not like that Stephon Diggs was, not a horrible wide receiver. It just became, too much of a popularity contest and more of a sideshow for him than actually just going out there and playing.
Yeah, I'm with you. There's a lot to be said, and they kind of were expecting someone to emerge, and I think for the Bills, they went and just were like, screw it, we want Coop. So
yeah, they went number one by committee in that one. So this one will hopefully kind of put an end to that circus a little bit. So
no kidding, get him out of Cleveland.
Right.
So, all right, next one, Voldy.
Well, sticking in Cleveland after another disappointing loss from the Cleveland Browns, a 20-16 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. The Browns and head coach Kevin Stefanski did say that they are continuing to voice their support for starting quarterback Deshaun Watson as remaining the starter even after a very rocky opening weeks of the NFL season. Quote is saying, I think Deshaun gives us the best chance to win, continues to give us the best chance to win as well. Now, even talking about the possibility of looking in inserting backup quarterback Jameiswinston as the starter, Stefanski was quoted as saying, we need to play really good offensive football at his position and really at every position to be successful. So answering the question without actually saying anything towards the question itself. Now, we know that the track record of Deshaun Watson in recent years hasn't been all the greatest, and Jameiswinston has continued to look at the more positive side of life, even given his early rocky start to his career, but has really cemented himself as a viable backup option in the league here in recent years. Now, is it absurd or approved with the Browns continuing to spiral down in the wrong direction? Is it absurd or approved? Will the Browns finish the season with Deshaun Watson as their starting quarterback?
Let me first preface it by saying this. And again, this is why I had Deshaun Watson at number 2. When you have been given X amount of dollars, and it's one of the richest contracts that he got, and what he demanded from, doing the trade and everything, looking at teams, he was treated like a guy that just was kind of like, Texans, get me out of here, yada, yada, yada. Then he has the massage deal going on with women and everything like that. He's a spoiled brat, to say the least. He scammed the Cleveland Browns out of many, many dollars, and especially wins as well. He has been not only hurt, he has been he's just kind of been a complete bust in this sense. And he should really understand that they're paying him a lot of money to be the guy, be a potential, be the franchise QB. And he has not lived up to those expectations. And I believe there was another lawsuit against him. Apparently it did get settled, but listen, this man has not performed. And with Kevin Stefanski, I feel like he has been held captive by this whole thing, and he has to say these things. He has to say, I'm sorry, I believe in him, he can do it and everything like that. He is costing his team games by his play. He's getting sacked. He can't get out of sacks. He looks awful, absolutely awful. And I can't believe I'm saying this, Voldy and Tate. I can't believe I'm saying this. Put him in. Put infamous Jameis in there, please. Put him in there.
Infamous Jameis.
Infamous Jameis is going to give them a little bit of juice. I believe that is the case. I do. So I think it's absurd. I don't think he's going to finish the season as their starter because he has played terribly. He didn't play that well against the Eagles. Yes, they almost beat him for one, and the Eagles aren't that great as well.
No.
But listen, Deshaun has had ample opportunity to show again why he was looking like a franchise quarterback and being one of the richest in Houston. But he made an absolute joke of himself with the massage issues or with the massage ordeal and stuff like that. And shame on him for that too. Shame on him. And to come into Cleveland and suck like he has, you're in big trouble. And, Stefanski's done what he could. So, no, I don't think so. I can't believe I'm saying it. Put in famous Jameis. Put him in. I don't care anymore. Just put him in. Deshaun is just terrible. So, Voldy, what do you think?
Unfortunately, you're in a situation where you gave him a $280 million contract and $250 million of it was guaranteed. So you're kind of married to each other at this point between the Browns and Deshaun Watson. When it comes all said and done, if you want to win, you got to put Jameiswinston in. I mean, we've seen him play the last couple of seasons serving as a backup down in New Orleans and just where he's come from since his days in Tampa. I think it's in a situation where he's come to be. He is definitely a leader off the field for sure. And we've seen some of his mic'd up moments here from this season. And of course, seasons past a lot different than where we were at the start of his career down in Tampa. I could definitely see a move to be made, but will it be in the coming weeks? It's tough to be said. I think now we get past this week. I think stronger consideration needs to be made with Deshaun Watson maybe moving to the bench and throwing in Jameiswinston. But will he finish the season as a starter? I say no. I don't think he's going to finish the season just based off the fact that if the Browns want to do something, if we saw anything with the trade of Amaricooper as well, I think the Browns are already phoning it in for next season.
Myles Garrett on the trade block.
We'll see.
Just saying. Keep an eye out. All right, next one, Voldy.
Well, the long-awaited return for a Lonzo Ball after missing 2 straight NBA seasons is actually happening as we speak. Preseason action against the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Chicago Bulls will be the return for Lonzo Ball after playing his last game in January 14th of 2022. 2 whole seasons. The number 2 overall pick from the 2017 NBA draft will be making a return. Of course, the return for him marred after numerous injuries that have taken place, including knee cartilage, a cartilage transplant surgery back in May of 2023, maybe even with the effects of the god-awful Big Baller brand shoes that he was wearing at the start of his career. Lonzo Ball is set to make a return for the Chicago Bulls even after a career that did start in Los Angeles, then getting traded to New Orleans, and now being sent to the Bulls a couple of seasons ago. But now with Lonzo Ball set to return, is it absurd or approved? Will Lonzo Ball be a factor for the Bulls this season?
Where's LeVar? I haven't seen him.
Own business, hopefully.
Well, all jokes aside, I just haven't heard from him in a long time. Never lost. Lonzo Ball is, again, you heard the hype with his dad, and you heard, everything. He'd be really good for the Lakers and everything like that. He's just average. If I'm being completely honest, he's an average, NBA player. Not saying that he's like a scrub and he shouldn't be on a team. Yeah, he should be on a team. Interesting. They had a record of 27-13 before he got hurt, and it was the best record in the Eastern Conference at the time. So maybe he's that, a big of a difference. So I think I think it'll help Chicago. They've been kind of like below average. They've maybe fought for an eighth spot and in the play-in tournament or whatever, however the hell they do that. But I think that him coming back, I think it's going to give them a little bit of a jolt. They are probably going to be dealing Zach LaVine, former Wolf, by the way. So it sounds like to me that they're going to need him because they don't really have much after that. I think DeMar DeRozan's still there, which I think will help them a little bit. But yeah, I think Lonzo coming back, I think he'll be effective. To what extent? I guess we'll find out. But good for him getting back. We'll see where he's at with it. And I know the Wolves are playing right now against them. Right now in preseason, so we'll see what happens. So yeah, I'll give it my stamp of approval. I got no problem doing that. So yeah, good luck to Lonzo. Hopefully things go a little bit better for him. So Voldy, Tate, what do you got?
I think looking at with what Lonzo Ball has dealt with the last couple of years, of course, with the injuries and just trying to get back out on the floor, there's probably going to be a pretty good grace period for him to get settled back on. And to what extent will he be effective? It's tough to say. Who knows? He might be coming off the bench to start. I don't know what Chicago really has in store, especially with, the potentiality of Zach LaVine getting traded maybe. I mean, they've been in a rebuilding phase for a number of years for Chicago. I know that they want a winner in many, many ways. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. I don't think he'll be effective at all, so I think it's absurd at this point. I think it's just more about him getting back out and competing to at least get back into, that NBA shape one way or another. That's going to be a big focus for him this year, I think.
True, yeah. Hopefully he's been working. And hopefully LeVar's got him in the right mindset, but who the hell knows? All right, last one, Voldy.
Well, returning back to the world of the NFL, it was approved by NFL team owners on Tuesday that they allow the purchase of a minority stake of the Las Vegas Raiders to a one Thomas Patrick Edward Brady Jr. That's right. Tom Brady is now an NFL owner. Add that to the long resume of things post-career for Tom Brady. And of course, his current ties right now with the broadcasting booth now being added on to as a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that he has owned throughout his many careers. And now it's actually on paper, whether it be on the field or off the field, Tom Brady now owns the Las Vegas Raiders. Of course, now this throwing into the mix, of course, the rules that were taking place with Tom Brady now being an owner of an NFL franchise, how that all works with him being able to work with Fox. Now, Brady is barred from weekly production meetings with players and coaches in games that he will cover and cannot be in another team's facility, and he can't watch practice. Those restrictions are still set to take place. So basically, he does everything but show up to the game and actually broadcast it while everybody else does all the dirty work and try to get him set up. Now, with that all taking place, that does add a few things into the mix with Brady being part of the ownership for the Las Vegas Raiders. Is it absurd or approved now with TFB as part of the ownership? Will that bring a boost to the Raiders here in the future?
Well, you got to think so after the ordeal that's been happening these past few years. The Raiders franchise has been dysfunctional for a long time now. With Derek Carr, they had amaricooper, that all fell apart. Josh Jacobs, he moved on. I mean, there's just a lot of issues. The terrible contract they had with Jimmy Garoppolo, it just has been going downhill. Now, adding Brady to the mix, it sounds like he can do stuff with the team, but his broadcast stuff, I mean, pretty much it's all set up for him. Right. Can't go to do any of that because since he is, minority owner and everything like that, he's got to abide by it. But again, he's Tom Brady. He can do what he wants. So he, with his broadcasting, I believe has gotten a lot better from what people have been saying. And with him being the minority owner, I think he's got to be doing, he'll probably do better than what other people have done. Davis has, I mean, the son is just, he's not as good as his dad. No offense. But
Right.
it's just, you got to bring in somebody with some football acumen. And I think with Tom Brady, I think that's going to help. And, picking a quarterback of the future, which they desperately need, especially with the carousel that they have with Minshew and Aiden O'Connell for that matter, is something to keep an eye on. So I think it's going to boost it. To what extent, we'll find out. So, I think it will. So it's got my stamp of approval. The Raiders are just a travesty right now at this point. So stamp of approval. Voldy, Tate, what do you got?
I mean, the Raiders can certainly do worse when it comes to bringing in any sort of profit, or at least showing names for themselves in the ownership department. I think this has been a process where they've been kind of courting each other the last, year and a half or so. Now it's actually come to fruition. Of course, Tom Brady does own a stake of the Aces in Las Vegas as well, to which Mark Davis, the majority owner of the Raiders, does own a good portion of that squad as well. So nothing too out of the box for that. I certainly do see the possibility of that coming to be much more in favor for the Raiders than has been in the past, because I've already seen maybe some reports of maybe looking at the draft coming up for next year, and at least the connection between Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders in many respects. Who knows? Maybe the Raiders will be in looks for a quarterback here in the future. I don't know. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out. But I think having Tom Brady in on the mix when it comes to ownership, I think it's got my stamp of approval as well, because they could always certainly do worse.
True. Very true. All right. A great job with Ray. This is a week of oldie, as always.
Thank
especially
you.
for the Tater as well. We got some Shield shout-outs. So I say we get it going with some Shield, with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shoutouts.
All right, it is the third quarter for our Minnesota Lynx. Oh, they just hit a shot. 57-50, third quarter, a little over 2 minutes left. So, with that being said, Shield, who ya shout out tonight?
Well, I was able to watch the Wild game last night as they were featured on ESPN, and the Minnesota Wild's goaltender Philip Gustafson scored his first career goal, also marking as the first Wild goaltender to score a goal in franchise history, and just the 15th goalie in the entire NHL history to score a goal. So Philip Gustafson, a Shield shout-out goes out to him this week, and that will do it for Shield shout-outs this week.
Shouts out to him. I saw that. That was sick. And to be the first one ever, hey, you etch yourself in the history book. So congrats to Philip Gustafson. Gus Butts. So now the Lynx are up 10. So apparently whatever we did during that transition, it worked. 60-50 Lynx still in the third quarter. So we'll see how this one ends, and hopefully it is in a Lynx win. So great job as always. Shield shout-outs, Voldy. Guys, you know the deal. You're playing for a winter hat this week. For Pick'em, make sure you get your picks in. Yes, the winter cap. It's coming, guys. It's coming. Winter is coming. Make sure you stay warm with winter stuff. And you guys know the quarter zips are available as well. I got the quarter zips looking fresh as always. So make sure that you check out all our merch, our stickers, our hats as well. We got a lot of cool hats. We've got the sweatpants, still perfect for this time of year. And we got the shirts, $20, $5 shipping, the whole kit and caboodle. The tumblers as well, still available. So make sure you check that out too. So thank you to National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson for the stickers. Shout out to our guy, W2 Performance, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. Will Rattel is doing some awesome stuff on his socials medias. He's got a lot going on there. And then make sure you check out the Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Herman, Jack Vickers. They have a new episode out that came out today, so make sure you check it out for all your fantasy football needs as well. Check out TLS Performance. Troy Stoudemire Jr. always doing some awesome stuff. He's been cheering on the Gophs this whole season, so make sure you check out his socials medias as well. And the Popcorn Bucket List with Nick Dahlhoff and Ryan Meyerberg, the Rhino, as well. So make sure you check them out. Omni Entertainment, Popcorn Bucket List, a.k.a. PBL as well. So make sure you check those guys out too. So that being said, that is going to do it for episode 211. 211, and the Lynx, they're trying to get it done here in Minnesota. They're doing what they need to do so far. Hopefully, the Lynx can come out with the victory here at Target Center. We will keep an eye on it. Get those picks in. Get your lineup set. Huge week. Skull Vikes. Let's get this done against Detroit. Let's see what we can do here, fellas. Let's go. Tate's ready. Voldy's ready. Let's go. So, with that being said, as always, remember, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.